So you're thinking about building a home gym. That's awesome. But here's the thing. Most people immediately start shopping for a squat rack or a new treadmill, and trust me, that is the very last thing you should be doing. Today, we are starting from the ground up, literally. This is not another equipment guide. Nope. This is a builder's technical plan for turning that spare room, that garage, or that basement into a legit, high-quality training space.
Just look at this. On the left, you've got what we all want to avoid, right? A sad, dusty corner where expensive equipment goes to die. And on the right, that's the goal. A clean, planned, dedicated space that actually makes you want to work out. The difference here has nothing to do with the price of the equipment. It's all about the approach.
So here's our game plan. This is the 6-step project plan we're going to walk through, from asking the right questions all the way to dealing with safety and permits. Think of this as our official builder's checklist. Let's get into it. First things first, before you even dream about what kind of weights you're going to buy, we have to analyze the room itself. You know, the best home gyms aren't about the gear. They're built on a solid understanding of the space, its foundation, its air quality, its light, and its overall flow. And this quote right here just nails it. You have to totally shift your mindset. You're not just a consumer buying a product. You are a builder constructing an entire system. Getting that perspective right from the beginning, well, that's the real key to making this whole project a massive success. All right, that brings us to our first real technical phase, checking the structural feasibility. This is where we get our hands dirty. Before you even think about laying down a single mat, you have to inspect the bones of the room to figure out what it can actually handle. I'm serious, skipping this step is just a recipe for disaster. Okay, here are your first 4 non-negotiable checks. You got to test for moisture, especially if you're in a basement. You absolutely need to check for floor slope, which is a super common problem in garages. You have to measure your ceiling height. You don't want to be punching the ceiling during an overhead press. And finally, you have to assess the structural load. And that right there leads us to the single most overlooked and frankly, the most potentially dangerous question of the entire project. You're planning on putting hundreds, maybe even thousands of pounds of solid iron in one little spot. Can your floor actually take that kind of weight? And the difference is, well, it's massive. A concrete slab, like what you'd find in a garage or a basement, it can handle a truck, so your weights are going to be no problem at all. But a standard residential floor, with wood joists underneath, like in a spare bedroom, that's usually only rated for about 40 pounds per square foot. If you start piling all your weight plates in one corner, you could easily blow past that limit. So let me be clear. If you are not on a concrete slab, you have to consult a builder. No exceptions. Okay, so once you've confirmed the structure is safe, we can move on to making the space a place you actually want to be in. I mean, a gym is completely useless if it's boiling hot in the summer or freezing cold in the winter. If the environment is miserable, you're just not going to use it. Simple as that. Now here is your magic number. You have to keep the humidity below 50%. Why? Well, there are 2 huge reasons. First, humidity means rust, and rust will eat your expensive iron plates and barbells for breakfast. And second, maybe even more important, high humidity makes the air feel thick and stale, which is the absolute last thing you want when you're breathing hard during a tough workout. And here's how you get it under control. For any basement gym, a dehumidifier is pretty much mandatory. For a garage, the best all-in-one solution for both heating and cooling is something called a mini-split system. Now, if that's not in the budget, at the very least, grab a garage door insulation kit. And for any space, you've got to have a plan for airflow to keep the air fresh. So the air feels right, the temperature is good. Now let's talk about energy. Not just electrical energy, but your personal energy. You can't train in the dark, and you definitely can't run modern cardio machines on an old circuit. Planning for power and lighting isn't just about function. It's about your motivation.
Okay, this is so cool. It turns out the color of the light in a room directly impacts your brain. That warm yellow light on the left, that's around 2700 Kelvin, basically tells your body it's time to relax and wind down. You want the light on the right, 4000 to 5000 Kelvin. It's often called daylight, and it mimics natural sunlight, making you feel way more alert and energized. It's a total game changer.
And on the power side of things, please check the specs on your big cardio equipment. A serious treadmill can pull a huge amount of electricity, and it will constantly trip a standard 15-amp breaker. You should plan to have an electrician install a dedicated 20-amp circuit right where you need it. This totally eliminates those annoying tripped breakers, and it gets rid of dangerous, ugly extension cords, which are a major trip hazard. All right, time to talk about what is easily the single most abused surface in any gym, the floor. Think about it. It has to handle dropped weights, sweat, constant impact. It is the foundation for every single movement you are going to make. And I'm going to let you in on an industry secret. Forget all those fancy, expensive gym tiles. The gold standard is the humble horse stall mat. You can get them at a farm supply store. They're thick, they're incredibly durable, and they're way more affordable. But most importantly, they provide a rock-solid, stable surface for lifting. Those soft foam tiles, they'll compress under heavy weight, and that can totally compromise your balance and your safety. So once your awesome new floor is down, start thinking about your layout like a kitchen designer. You want to create a natural flow. Your strength zone, where your rack and your weights live, should go in the area with the highest ceiling and the most level part of the floor. Put your cardio zone near a window or a fan for airflow. And this part is so important. Leave a dedicated open mobility zone for stretching and warming up. Don't just clutter every square inch with equipment.
We're almost there. We're at the final phase, and this is all about protecting your investment, your property's value, and, of course, your family. This is the stuff people tend to skip, and it's about doing the job right, both legally and securely. Seriously, treat this like a real construction project. If you're running new electrical wires, get a permit. If your gym is in a basement, you must have a proper fire escape. That's called an egress. If you've got kids or pets, the room needs a lock, period. And that little red safety key on the treadmill, always, always remove it when you're done. These are not suggestions. They're your essential safety requirements.
And this really brings us full circle back to our main theme. The difference between that sad, forgotten corner full of dusty equipment and a high-value, amazing training facility in your own home, it really is that simple. It all comes down to meticulous planning before you buy a single dumbbell. So there you have it, the complete builder's checklist. You've got the knowledge now, you know the phases. The only thing left to do is to actually start. So the ball is in your court. What is the first wall you are going to measure?